This is beautiful, but also very solemn and sad, because when we know what became of the temple when the carrying away under Babylon took place, chapter 28 records the fact that David had done much to prepare for the building of the house of God. Although Solomon was going to build it, his daddy helped his son with preparation. I mean, can you imagine where it mentions, and I mentioned in another Thoughts video about the fact of it being Solomon before Solomon was even born, and we know that because of what I pointed out in my previous Thoughts video. The decree came to David, I wish I remember what chapter it was, but it was before chapter 19, where we know, as I mentioned in the previous video, that's where the sin occurred with Bathsheba. But it wasn't mentioned here in 1 Chronicles. Chapter 20 is where it occurred. But previously, God said, your son will build an house. There it is. It's in 17. The Lord just led me over to it. David was concerned in chapter 17 that the Lord didn't have a house, because he had a house of cedars and he wanted to build one. And God told Nathan, tell David my servant, thus saith the Lord, thou shalt not build me an house to dwell in, but your son, who is yet to be born, because of course Solomon was one of the sons of Bathsheba, the second son. So when God promised that his son would build the house, Solomon wasn't even in the picture yet. And Solomon, as I say, wasn't in the picture of this book. But then the time comes where David said, and of all my sons, who'd have known? For the Lord hath given me many sons. He hath chosen Solomon my son to sit upon the throne. But then all the things that were prepared, all the gold, all the silver, all the basins, and the cherubims, and the candlesticks, and the laver, and the lamps of gold, and all the rest were going to be trashed. When we do get to the prayer of Solomon and the dedication of the temple, those of you that were with me for the end of, I think, the Kings, where it mentions the carrying away into Babylon, think about what happened. The king whose sons were taken and killed before his eyes, and then after they made him watch them kill his sons, they gouged out the king's eyes and made him like a court jester before Nebuchadnezzar. And the trashing of the temple. Because as David charged Solomon, he said, that if you don't pay attention to God, if he be constant to do my commandments and my judgments as at this day, now therefore in the sight of all Israel, the congregation of the Lord, and in the audience of our God, keep and seek for all the commandments of the Lord your God, that ye may possess this good land, and leave it for an inheritance for your children after you forever. And thou, Solomon my son, know thou that God, the God of thy father, know thou the God of my father, and serve him with a perfect heart and with a willing mind. For the Lord searcheth all hearts, and understandeth all the imaginations of the thoughts. If thou seek him, he will be found of thee. But if thou forsake him, he will cast thee off forever. In my last Thoughts video, I went back to 2 Samuel chapter 11. It is 1 Kings chapter 11. Yet again, another 11. Chapter 11. The next book after 2 Samuel 11, where it mentions David's sin. 1 Kings 11 begins with a but. After the 10th chapter, where it tells of all his riches, but King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, the Ammonites, the Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites, the nations that David slew. Solomon slept with their daughters, and God held to what he had said through David. Once again here. But if thou forsake him, he will cast thee off forever.